100 people who will be allowed to go through screening. So that will be great. It's important to know that on Sunday, the busiest times we project at the security checkpoints will be 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Yes, that is all day because we expect a steady flow of people coming to the airport following the events and festivities. So keep that in mind. We also expect it will be busy all the way through Monday evening for people who spend the entire weekend here. So if you're traveling Sunday anytime into Monday evening, you will find that it's going to be extremely busy, but we know that and we'll be prepared. We're expecting on Sunday to screen about 95,000 travelers through the security checkpoint. Those are just departing passengers, and that's quite a few people. On Monday, that will drop to about 87,000, so you're looking at a high volume of passengers over that 2-day period. And of course, this is in addition to what we will see for the Thanksgiving holiday travel rush, which will just be getting underway. Now, I'm often asked if that will be the busiest days ever here at Las Vegas. Very interesting to say that we have had our busiest day ever, and it's been in the last month, and it was Sunday, October 13th, and we had 107,309 passengers go through the security checkpoint. You know, I kind of think of that as a random Sunday. We do know that was a holiday weekend. And it can contribute to that, but we're just seeing those high volumes. And the second busiest day was a week later when there were 107,196 people screened. So that eclipsed what we saw after the Super Bowl. That is our third busiest day ever when we had 103,978 people screened. So even though we're going to have a large number of people coming through the security checkpoint, it won't be record breaking, but what we will see is that steady flow of passengers throughout the day, so keep that in mind. As I said, we're going to have 51 lanes open during those peak times to screen all of the travelers. And keep in mind that people can go in Terminal 3 down to the 0 level during those peak times, and we'll have those checkpoints open as well. We will also have our administrative staff, those who do functions outside the screening and the security checkpoint, helping with those customer service jobs, those that don't require being certified in the screening of travelers. That helps leverage our staffing so that we can have our uniformed officers doing their security function. That helps keep our operations moving, so watch for them in the checkpoint as well. If you have a souvenir program from any of the events, please go ahead and take that in your carry-on luggage. Sometimes those needlessly alarm the security screening technology in our checked baggage and require a check of the bag. So if you just go ahead and put that in your carry-on, you'll be able to remove it when it goes through screening and you'll be on your way. That'll just save all of us a bit of time. So I want to remind people that the rules that have been in place now for more than 18 years about traveling with liquids, please adhere to those. The number one prohibited item we see is liquids over 3.4 ounces. People bringing water bottles, bringing sodas, bringing special liqueurs or spirits that they've come across during the festivities that they want to take home with them. Place those in your check luggage. You don't want to get to the checkpoint and find out you're not going to be able to have them in your carry-on, so something to keep in mind. Now, I can tell you we're working very closely with the airport, and they have stressed that they have a 4-3-2-1 approach to this event. 4 hours before the departure, make sure that you arrange your transportation, that you're dropping off your rental car, to make sure that you've allowed plenty of time to do that. Make sure that 3 hours before your departure, you're checking your bags with the airlines, making sure you're allowing plenty of time for that during those increased travel periods. And 2 hours before, we want to have you at the security checkpoint. That's a pretty common advisement that we make, big event or not. And so that is what it is. And then of course, 1 hour before, we want you at your gate ready to board. We all know that that doesn't leave you much time to board because most airlines start boarding 40 minutes prior to departure. So you really don't have that much extra time. But following the schedule will make your departure process stress-free. It'll make it better for anybody who's traveling around you, and of course for all the people who will be working. Now, one last tip I have for people is you can download the My TSA app. That has a lot of resources for travelers, including a feature which is my favorite called What Can I Bring? You can enter the name of the item into the app. It tells you how to travel with it, so you're not surprised when you come to the security checkpoint. We all know the feeling, even I do, when you bring that prohibited item and you're given the choice to go back and check it or turn it over to TSA. Let's avoid that happening, and let's just go ahead and only bring items to the security checkpoint that are allowed into the cabin of the aircraft. So those are the highlights of what we're expecting, what people can expect. I think the bottom line is this: if you live in this area, you're not going to the race, you're not going to the concert and the music festival, but you need to travel this weekend, know that we're here, we're ready for you, we have a plan in place. If you are here for all the festivities, same thing. We're going to be here ready to screen you. Please just follow the advisements to arrive early and arrive prepared. Do you have any questions for me? Yes.
Yeah, I have a couple. First of all, I think it's a striking thing that like the biggest day that you guys have ever had was just a 3-day weekend.
Yep.
That's just what Las Vegas does. They move people through the system. And you're saying your projections are beneath that this time. How do you come to that number?
Sure.
And what goes into that calculation?
That's a great question. So the way we come up with our passenger projections is we work with the airlines. We also work with the airport to determine how many seats are sold, what times those flights are departing, so that we can then approximate when we expect those people at the checkpoint. We do usually advise that 2 hours before departure, so we know that the peak time when there are a lot of flights departing would be about 2 hours prior to that. So we staff that accordingly. We make sure that we, based on the number of seats sold, the number of flights departing, have staff in place to continue to screen. That's a really key asset for us. We're always adjusting those as well. People change their flights, they stay longer or they go home earlier. We adjust, and that's how we know that. We even knew that those days in October that were record breakers were going to be busy, and when the numbers came out, it turned out that the passengers were screened was what we had projected, and we had the staffing in place for that. Even with those lower volumes, we know it's going to be a compressed arrival period because people are going to probably one of two major events. We also know there's an NFL game on Sunday, so we know people are coming to the airport after the game. We're going to be staffed anticipating that. So it's a lot of moving parts, but ultimately our job is to make sure that we have lanes, have checkpoints open to screen them, and we will do that.
And then the other one that I had, well, another small one.
Sure.
This one is interesting to me, right? Last year, we did this for the first time.
Yes.
Did you learn, kind of what lessons did you learn from that? Are you expecting to offload some of that to Henderson or North Las Vegas? Are there people who, looked at it last year who were here, experienced it, and said, I'm going to try to do something different this time? What does that look like from your perspective?
Well, we are well aware that many of the people who come into town for this event are general aviation customers, and so that keeps those airports busy, keeps airport operations busy. So we wouldn't see them at the checkpoint because we are screening people who are going on commercial flights. But we also know a lot of people come into town to be around the excitement, to be around the other events, whether it's a football game, the music series, you name it. And so we learned a lot last year. We learned from the Super Bowl as well. We learned about the importance of making sure that we have the lanes open, that we're proactively having staffing on site, that we have our canines working, but we also have the ability to pivot on a dime. And when we need to see that there's more people at Terminal 1 than we anticipated than at Terminal 3, then we can adjust our staffing and move them around, and we'll do that. We learn from every event, but of course Las Vegas is no stranger to big events, so we have done a good job of making sure we have a solid plan in place. Great question.
What's the average number of screens on a regular day?
Oh, on a regular day? So it really varies. Las Vegas is one of those airports that has the peaks on the weekends and the days leading into the weekends, but the middle of the weeks tends to be fewer travelers, and we know that based on the projections working with the airlines. So we're looking at between 80 and 95,000 people on a typical day, a weekend going into it, coming out of it. We're going to be in that range as well.
And then I didn't know there was you have a security check on the ground floor here too.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Yeah, let me.
Light years distance-wise, it's way
Sure.
far away from the rest of everything else. So how does that work? Is there a different path?
Yeah, so here in Terminal 3, on the 0 level, we have what we call the Innovation Checkpoint. It's a checkpoint where TSA can test its new technologies, and that is open to travelers. More limited hours than the main checkpoints, but we screen travelers through there all the time. We also have our self-service screening system that we rolled out earlier today. That's downstairs. But we also have an additional checkpoint on either ends of the innovation checkpoint where we train new TSA officers. They come from around the country to receive training in a real airport environment in a real checkpoint. we're going to suspend our training for a few days so that we can put passengers through those lanes. That's how we're increasing our capacity to make sure that things don't get backed up, that we don't have wait times that are outside of our standards. To get to the innovation checkpoint, you go down to the 0 level, and it's well signed, and it is called the innovation checkpoint. So look for that. We'll also have people directing travelers to there. One of the things we do is what we call load balancing. If we have a lot of people coming to this checkpoint, but it's not as busy downstairs, people will be asked to go downstairs to the other checkpoint. You can get on the tram there to get to the other terminals as needed. Good question. Anything else? All right, very good. Did you have anything to add? Yeah, sure. I want to introduce Luke from the airport, my new partner in communications. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah, absolutely.
When did you start, Luke?
When did I start working here at Harry Reid?
Yeah.
I started at the very end of September of this year. Yes,
You're
sir.
brand new.
Yeah, I'm new.
Oh, crap. Okay, so talk a little bit about logistics or whatever she didn't cover, whatever you wanted to add, and then maybe we'll have a follow-up.
Sure. So us here at Harry Reid are anticipating a large influx of travelers, especially at the end of F1, right? And F1 is taking place 2 miles away from our airport. So we do anticipate some road closures and detours to be set up, and we just want our travelers and residents to know that they can sign up for text message alerts regarding road closures by texting F1LV to 31996. And we just want people to know to plan ahead and use our 4-3-2-1 formula, like Lori had mentioned. Schedule your transportation 4 hours ahead, arrive then, and then 3 hours ahead, check your bags, 2 hours ahead, get in security, and 1 hour ahead, be at your gate and ready to board. You can also follow us at LAS Airport on X, Instagram, and Facebook, and you can get live updates and travel tips for all your travel needs.
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, the roads are going to be closed, or they're going to be very, very busy trying to get from, a very short distance away. A lot of people moving this direction all over.
Right.
Spell your name one time on the microphone.
It's Luke Nimmo, Lukenimmo.
And your title.
And I'm the Public Information Administrator for the Clark County Department of Aviation.
Okay. Anybody else? We're good. Thank you.
All right, thank you.